download our Revise It Right revision app for hundreds of videos, quizzes, exam questions, tutor support and so much more. This video is about atoms. Now an atom is the smallest piece of an element and they have a radius of around 0.1 nanometers or 1 times 10 to the power of minus 10 meters. Now you need to be able to label the subatomic particles that you find within an atom. You need to be able to say each of their masses and each of their charges. So I'm going to talk you through that now. So first here I'm going to draw the nucleus of an atom. Now in the nucleus you find two subatomic particles. You find some positively charged subatomic particles which are called protons. And these are represented by the plus sign. And you find some neutral charged subatomic particles and they are called neutrons. And they don't have a charge, so they are neutral. Now orbiting round the outside of the nucleus you have negatively charged particles which are called electrons. So if you were ever asked to name the subatomic particles you find in an atom, you've got protons, neutrons and electrons. So protons, as I said, are positively charged. So we say their relative charge is equal to plus 1. Okay, they have a plus 1 or a 1 plus charge. They're positive. And as I said, neutrons were neutrally charged. They have no charge. So their charge is 0. So proton charge is plus 1, neutron charge is 0, and electrons are negatively charged. So their relative charge is minus 1. Okay, so that's their charge. You also, as well as knowing their charge, which I'm highlighting here, you also need to know their mass numbers. Okay, so their relative mass. Now protons have a relative mass of 1. And neutrons also have a relative mass of 1. Whereas electrons are very, 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 very small. Okay, so we either say their mass is very small, or we can write it as 0, being 0 mass. Now it isn't actually 0 mass, but it's very, very close to that. It's very, very small. Okay, so just to very quickly summarize what I just said there, we've got mass and charge. Our proton has a mass of 1 and a charge of plus 1. Our electron has a mass of 0 and a charge of minus 1. And our neutron has a mass of 1 and a charge of 0. Okay, and we need to be able to remember that information. Remember to download our Revise It Right revision app, watch over 700 videos, answer 4,000 plus quiz questions, over 1,000 flashcards, 1,000 exam questions, worksheets, forums, and get help from qualified teachers and so much more. The link is in the description. Now you can work out how many protons, neutrons or electrons there are in a certain element by looking at the periodic table. Okay, so I'm looking at the periodic table now and I'm bringing up carbon. I'm looking at carbon. Now carbon looks like this on the periodic table. Okay, these are the numbers on the periodic table for carbon. Okay, now this number here stands for its relative atomic mass, so it's its mass number. And this here we can either call the atomic number or we can call it the proton number. And then this here is the chemical symbol for that element. So carbon has a chemical symbol of C. It has a relative mass of 12 and it has a proton number or an atomic number of 6. Yeah, now we can use all of these numbers to work out how many protons, neutrons and electrons there are in an element. We'll start with protons because that's very easy. All we do for protons is look at the proton number or the atomic number. That number tells you how many protons. So for carbon, it has an atomic number or a proton number of 6, therefore it has 6 protons. Now electrons is also very easy. Now atoms are neutrally charged. They don't have a charge. So if they have 6 positive charge from the protons, they also need 6 negative charge from the electrons. So atoms always have the same number of protons as they do electrons, as they are neutrally charged. So if it has 6 protons, it also has 6 electrons as well. Now the one that is a little bit harder, but really not that hard still, is to work out neutrons. And all you do to work out the number of neutrons is you do the relative mass number minus the proton number. So in the context of our carbon, we do the relative mass number, which is 12, minus our proton number, which is 6, which gets you 6 neutrons. So our carbon atom has 6 protons, 6 electrons, and 6 neutrons. Now we'll do one more of those very, very quickly, and then I'll give you some questions for you to get on with. So let's do fluorine. Okay, so fluorine has this on the periodic table. So when you look at fluorine on the periodic table, you find this. Okay, remember, this is the mass number, this is the chemical symbol, and this is the proton number. So to find the number of protons, we look at the proton number, so it's 9. To find the number of electrons, there's the same amount of electrons as there are protons, therefore that is also 9. Now to work out neutrons, we need to do the mass number minus the proton number. So we've got 19 for the mass number minus the proton number, which is 9, which equals 10. So there are 10 neutrons. So there are 9 protons, 9 electrons, and 9 neutrons in fluorine. Now what I want you to do is have a go at answering these questions for me. I've drawn the periodic table for sodium here and for lithium here to help you out to answer those bottom questions. So pause the video now. Okay, so question 1. What is the relative mass of a proton? It's 1. What is the relative charge of an electron? It's -1. What is the relative mass of an electron? Either you could have written 0 or you could have written very small. What subatomic particles do you find in the nucleus? Well, in the nucleus you find the protons and you find the neutrons. Where are electrons found? They are found orbiting the nucleus in shells. So how many protons in sodium? Remember, that's the proton number, so that's 11. So protons equals 11. And how many neutrons in sodium? So you do the mass number 23 minus the proton number, which is 11, so it's 12. So 12 neutrons and 11 protons. That would also mean, I know I didn't ask for it, but it would also mean 11 electrons as well. Now let's go to lithium. How many electrons in lithium? There are 3, because there's the same amount of protons. So proton would be 3 as well. And then how many neutrons? Well, we do 7 minus 3 to give you 4. So 4 neutrons in lithium. And there are the answers. So we've now looked at atoms, what you find in an atom, and the masses and the charges of all the subatomic particles, and also how you work out the proton number, the neutron number, and the electron number in an element. You can now test yourself using the quiz and work through the exam questions on this topic. And if you need any further guidance or any further support, please do contact one of our tutors.